The owners looked at that and they said, if you want us to engage in these two areas, you're going to need to come down a little more. And until then, every proposal we send back to you, for the most part, is going to remain exactly the same. And that is what is being reported today. The WNBA owners return fire, send a proposal back to the players, give them a little bit more housing. But as far as rev share goes, nope, it's going to stay at that 15%. As far as salary cap goes, nope, it's going to stay that $5.6 million salary.
That response right there tells you everything about where these CBA negotiations actually stand. The WNBA Players Association just sent what they called a reasonable compromise to the league. 25% revenue share, ramping up to 27.5%, a salary cap just under $10 million. And the owners looked at that proposal, didn't even blink, and sent back the exact same offer they've been making for weeks. $5.65 million salary cap, 15% revenue share. Take it or leave it. So what's really happening here? Because on the surface, this looks like a stalemate. But when you dig into the numbers, when you look at what each side is actually proposing, this isn't a negotiation between equals. This is a masterclass in leverage. And right now, the players don't have any.
And maybe we'll give you a couple other things. The WNBA is still proposing a salary cap of $5.65 billion in its latest, according to a source from the negotiations. Additionally, based on league projections, player would still not receive more than 15% of total revenue during the agreement. Nafisa Collier, this is what 10 toes down actually looks like. This is called, you guys are far in over your head. You guys are guppies swimming with sharks. You guys are playing Connect 4 while the owners are playing chess. I would say checker.
Look at that breakdown. The owners didn't just reject the players' proposal. They responded within 48 hours, which in labor negotiations is lightning fast. That speed sends a message. We're not even considering your numbers. The league made tiny adjustments on housing benefits, threw in a slightly better 401k match, and on the two issues that actually matter, salary cap and revenue share, they didn't move a single percentage point. Now here's what makes this fascinating. The WNBA's ownership structure is split three ways. 42% controlled by NBA team owners, another 42% by independent WNBA team owners, and 16% held by outside investors who came in during that $75 million capital raise back in 2022. That outside investor group, the league is actively trying to buy them out right now. But here's the problem. Without a call provision in that original agreement, buying back that stake is going to cost them a fortune, which means the league is already hemorrhaging money before they even start negotiating player salaries.
Bring the agreement. Yeah, they're not moving. You want to know why they're not moving? Because a $5.65 million salary cap, more than fair. Because 15% of total revenue, more than fair. Quadrupling your salaries, more than fair. Upping the minimum, more than fair. Still saying we're going to pay for your housing, more than fair. An extra developmental slot on some teams.
That's the reality check. 15% of total revenue isn't some lowball insult. When you're operating at a loss, when your league has been subsidized by the NBA for decades, 15% is actually generous. The players keep pointing to that $2.2 billion media rights deal like it's pure profit. But media rights don't cover operating expenses. They don't cover team travel, arena costs, marketing, league infrastructure, expansion fees. That money gets distributed across multiple ownership buckets, and what's left after expenses is what determines profit sharing. The players are asking for 25 to 27.5% of total revenue, not profit, revenue, which means even if the league operates at a loss, which it has for most of its existence, players would still take a quarter of every dollar that comes in. That's not sustainable. That's not even rational.
Average out to 27.5 over the life of their proposed CBA. The WNBA issued a statement late Tuesday calling the union's proposal unrealistic and alleging it would result in hundreds of millions of dollars in losses for the league. So you know what this actually sounds like? You know what it seems like we're going through here? The last time the players sent the league an unrealistic proposal, the league said no. Then the players sent the same proposal, but just changed around a couple words, and the league didn't respond to it because they still found it as a joke, a slap in the face, an unrealistic proposal. So instead of just not responding for 6 weeks like the league did last time.
And this is where the players' strategy completely falls apart. They're negotiating like they have leverage, like the threat of a strike actually scares the owners. But think about this logically. If you're an owner who's been losing money on this league for years, if you're already writing checks every season just to keep the lights on, what exactly are you afraid of losing? The season is scheduled to start May 8th. That's less than 3 months away. They still need to conduct an expansion draft. Free agency hasn't happened. The collegiate draft is pending, and the players are out here acting like time pressure works in their favor. But it doesn't. The owners can afford to wait. They can afford to delay the season. They can even afford to cancel it, if they have to. Because operating the WNBA at a loss is already costing them money. A work stoppage doesn't hurt them the way it hurts the players.
To this source, the league is proposing housing for all players in 2026. In 2027, the league's previous housing proposal, which included one-bedroom apartments for players on the league's proposed minimum salary and rookies and studios for developmental players, would take effect. The one-bedroom offering would be phased out after the 2028 season, but the studio apartments would be provided throughout the life of the deal. The WNBA's ownership structure is muddled, with 42% of the league controlled by the 30 NBA owners, 42% controlled by WNBA owners, and the remaining 16% belong to an outside group of investors as a result of a $75 million capital raise in 2022.
Let's talk about what the owners are actually offering, because the way this is being covered in the media, you'd think they're trying to exploit these players. $5.65 million salary cap. That's more than double what it is right now. They're quadrupling individual player salaries. The minimum salary is going up substantially. They're covering housing for every player, not just stars. Everyone gets a one-bedroom apartment in 2026 and 2027, then studios for the life of the deal. They're adding developmental roster spots. They're protecting pregnant players from trades. They're funding retirement plans with $4,500 per year of service for players with 8 or more years in the league. That's not exploitation. That's a massive investment in a league that doesn't make money. And the players looked at all of that and said, it's not enough. They want more. They deserve more. The numbers say otherwise.
Outside group of investors, that right there is why the league is in the situation that it is. Not the 42% from WNBA owners, not the 16% of an outside group of investors, but it's the fact that 42% of NBA owners, the NBA theoretically owns 42% of the WNBA. That's why. You guys need to break off and try your best to start your own thing. Stop being little sister or the ugly redheaded stepchild of the NBA and just go do your own thing.
Here's what this really comes down to. The players are betting that public pressure will force the owners to cave. They're betting that fans will see these negotiations as greedy billionaires versus hardworking athletes, and the outrage will push the league to give in. But that strategy only works if the fans actually side with the players. And increasingly, they don't. Because fans can do math. They can see that WNBA attendance is still a fraction of NBA attendance. They can see that ratings, even with Caitlin Clark driving record viewership, are still nowhere near profitable levels. They can see that most WNBA teams lose money every single year. So when players demand NBA-level revenue sharing without generating NBA-level revenue, it doesn't come across as fighting for equality. It comes across as entitlement.
Players in this league. Have you seen the players? Natasha Cloud's mental health bill, it would be through the roof. It's going to be through the roof. Can't imagine everybody else. Negotiations for a new CBA began last fall, but largely lagged until the new year. The WNBA and Players Association met in February, on February 2nd, following a 6-week period. The 30th WNBA season is currently scheduled to tip off on May 8th on Tuesday. The league emphasized both sides are running out of time to reach an agreement without a delay to the season, considering they still need to conduct an expansion draft, free agency, and a collegiate draft. Time is continuing to tick.
And this is the part that doesn't get talked about enough. That 42% stake held by NBA owners, that's the real problem. Not because NBA owners are evil or greedy, but because as long as the WNBA is structurally dependent on the NBA for survival, it's never going to be treated as an equal partner. It's always going to be the little sister league, the side project, the charity case. If the players really wanted leverage, if they really wanted to control their own destiny, they'd be pushing for full independence from the NBA. They'd be finding outside investors who believe in the WNBA as a standalone product. They'd be building their own media deals, their own marketing infrastructure, their own revenue streams that don't depend on NBA subsidies. But that's risky. That requires actually proving the league can survive on its own. And based on the financials, that's not a bet most investors are willing to make. So instead, the players are stuck demanding more money from owners who are already losing money, threatening to strike against a league that can afford to shut down, and acting shocked when the owners don't take them seriously. It's not a negotiating strategy, it's a temper tantrum.
Move, but as of right now, no need to move. You guys can strike if you want. Go ahead, strike. The owners, they don't got much to lose. You want to know why they don't have much to lose? Because operating this league, they're already losing. Like the video, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. See you next time, and as always,
The owners are playing chess. They know the players can't afford a prolonged work stoppage. They know most WNBA players don't have the financial cushion to miss paychecks. They know that public sentiment is shifting, that fans are getting tired of hearing millionaires complain about not being paid like billionaires. So they're sitting back, holding their position, and waiting for reality to set in. Because here's what happens next. The players are going to realize that time is running out. They're going to realize that the owners aren't bluffing. They're going to realize that striking doesn't hurt the league as much as it hurts them. And when that reality hits, they're going to come back to the table and accept something very close to what the owners are offering right now. The owners know this. That's why they're not moving. That's why they responded so quickly with essentially the same offer. They're not worried. They're not panicking. They're just waiting for the players to figure out that they don't have the leverage they think they have. This isn't a fair fight. It never was. The players can talk about equity and respect and being valued all they want. But at the end of the day, business is business. And in business, leverage is everything. The owners have it, the players don't. And that's why this negotiation is going to end exactly the way the owners want it to. So the real question isn't whether the players will get their 25% revenue share. They won't. The real question is how long it takes them to accept that reality and how much damage they do to their own credibility before they finally sign a deal that's been sitting on the table this entire time. Because the owners, they can wait as long as it takes. Can the players say the same?